It is night in Thebes. The city has triumphed over an invading army from Argos, but the victory is shadowed by tragedy. The two sons of Oedipus, Polynices and Eteocles, have slain one another in battle, each fighting for opposing sides. Polynices, the elder, had led the Argive army to reclaim the throne of Thebes, which he lost when his brother seized power. With both brothers dead, their uncle Creon has now become king of Thebes. The bloody conflict, one of the most renowned in Greek legend, arose from the cursed destiny of Oedipus and from the doom he placed upon his sons before his death. In the royal palace, Oedipus's daughters, Antigone and Ismene, share their sorrow. Antigone, enraged, reveals that Creon has declared that those who fought against Thebes shall be denied proper burial. Eteocles, the city's defender, will be buried with honor, but Polynices's corpse is to remain unburied, left to decay and be devoured by animals. Moreover, Creon has decreed that anyone who dares to bury him will be executed. Creon's law distinguishes between loyalty and treason. Those faithful to Thebes deserve burial, while traitors are condemned to rot. Antigone, however, sees things differently. For her, devotion to family outweighs political allegiance. Furious and resolute, she urges Ismene to help her bury their brother despite the king's decree. Ismene, terrified by the threat of death and mindful of their family's past misfortunes, pleads for restraint. She reminds Antigone that they are women, powerless before the authority of men and the king, and insists that they must obey Creon's command. Ismene's refusal does not stem from disbelief in her sister's cause, but from fear of the punishment awaiting them. She knows that their family has a tragic history of defiance and destruction. Antigone, unmoved, declares that she will act alone and that Ismene will not share in the honor of the deed if she later changes her mind. Though Ismene warns that disobeying the city's laws will bring ruin, Antigone insists that the laws of the gods are higher than those of mortals, and that divine justice demands their brother's burial. Through their exchange, the play's central conflict is revealed, the clash between divine law and human law. Ismene upholds the authority of the state, while Antigone defends the eternal laws of the gods. Despite Ismene's pleading, Antigone's determination hardens. Speak thus, and hated wilt thou be by me, and hated justly too by him that's gone. Leave me and this unwisdom that is mine, to suffer this thou fearst. To suffer naught there is that I shall suffer in this world, that equals suffering an ignoble death, and nothing shall I suffer by this act that will deprive me of a glorious death. She challenges her sister to reveal her plan to the world, and departs. Ismene, though thinking her sister irrational, expresses her love for her and exits in sorrow. Ismene is not Antigone's enemy, yet Antigone's passion blinds her to nuance. Consumed by her sense of duty, she moves toward defying Creon's decree and sealing her fate. The chorus of Theban elders enters, praising the dawn and recounting the city's victory over Polynices and the Argive invaders. O beam of sun, the fairest that ever dawned on Thebes, and ray of light the rarest that ever shone on all within the 7 gates. Day's open eye and golden gleam, thou art come at last o'er Dirce's stream, and from our cossumates in mad career to headlong flight. The warriors that in bucklers white, from Argos sallied forth with bristling spears, thou hast repulsed and freed us from our fears. Against our land the savage warrior came, in Polynices' quarrel, by his claim to the throne aroused. For the cause he espoused a shrill screaming eagle in flight, with an army strong, crest and helmets along. He sped to our land on a pinion of white. They honor Zeus for defending Thebes, rejoice in the goddess of victory, and call upon Dionysus, god of celebration, to join their triumph. Antigone's appeal to a higher law mirrors the chorus's faith in divine power. The people of Thebes see their salvation as a gift of the gods. Creon then appears and addresses the elders. He declares that, after the deaths of Oedipus's sons, he now rules as king and that the ship of state has been steadied. He speaks of leadership, insisting that a ruler must always act for the good of the state above all else. Eteocles, he proclaims, will be honored with a soldier's burial, while the traitorous Polynices will be left to rot as a warning to all. Creon's speech reveals his belief that the state stands above any individual and that order must be preserved through strict justice. He sees rebellion as an abomination that must be purged. A sentry then enters, trembling, for he bears troubling news. Polynices's body has been covered with a thin layer of dust, a token act of burial. Fearing Creon's anger, the sentry hesitates to speak, certain he will be blamed. The leader of the chorus suggests that the gods may have intervened, which enrages Creon. He accuses the sentry of accepting a bribe to allow the burial and vows to torture him unless he finds the culprit. Creon storms away, and the sentry, relieved to have escaped immediate punishment, swears never to return. Creon, placing human law above divine will, cannot conceive that the gods might oppose him. His obsession with authority drives him to cruelty, even toward a mere messenger. Alone, the chorus delivers a solemn meditation on the nature of humankind. Wonders are manifold, nothing so wondrous as man. He it is that is bold, mid the surges high to sail, blown by the stormy gale, white crests of ocean to span. Earth, the unwearied, too, highest of gods, supreme, man wears away as through all the years ploughing the ground. He follows round and round, the slowly furrowing team. Light-minded tribes of birds he snares in meshes fine, savage beasts in their herds, and the brood of the deepest sea, leads to captivity, man with his crafty mind. Beasts from the mountain lair, roaming the hills, he takes, lays the yoke on their shaggy hair, on the necks of horses proud. Mountain bulls bellowing loud, yoke to the plough he breaks. And speech has he taught him, and wind-swift thought, and order and law for government, and shelter from missiles of frost and sleet he hath wrought, resourceful in all. His resources are spent. When he seeks to escape from death, man so wise vicissitudes numberless conquers at will, and cures for baffling diseases he well can devise, save for death. Death alone e'er bates his skill. Inventive and skilful, with subtlety passing belief, moves he now to the good and now to the ill. Upholding the justice of heaven he comes not to grief, and the vows to the gods he hath sworn to fulfill. For whoso upholds the laws of the land, incorruptible, sinless, an outcast never shall roam. A city hath he, and proudly his city doth stand. May the wicked ne'er share my city, my home. Through intelligence and labor, humans can master all things, except death. When their laws reflect divine justice, their cities flourish, but when they stray from both mortal and divine order, they fall into ruin. This reflection, often called the Ode to Man, celebrates human power and ingenuity, while warning of pride and transgression. It condemns those who defy rightful law, like Polynices, who turned against his homeland. Yet the chorus, like Creon, assumes that divine and human laws are always in harmony. The tragedy that unfolds will reveal how mistaken this belief truly is. The sentry returns to Thebes, bringing with him Antigone. Calling for Creon, he presents her as the one who defied the royal decree and performed the burial rites for Polynices. Creon, at first, is skeptical. The sentry recounts how he and his fellow guards removed the dust from Polynices's body and kept watch nearby. Suddenly, a whirlwind arose, swirling dust into the air, and when it cleared, they saw Antigone standing beside the corpse, crying out in grief at the sight of her brother's exposed body. She then gathered handfuls of earth and covered him once more, whereupon the guards seized her. Many have wondered why Antigone returned to the body at all. If she had already fulfilled the burial rites, why did she come back? Perhaps she desired to be caught, or perhaps the whirlwind signified the presence of the gods, showing their concern for Polynices's fate. When Creon questions her, asking if she denies the accusation, she boldly admits it. Dismissing the sentry, Creon asks if she knew of his proclamation forbidding the burial, and she replies that she knew it well. Antigone answers plainly, never hesitating or attempting to defend herself. She does not seek pardon, but confrontation. When Creon demands to know why she dared to break his law, Antigone declares that his law is not divine law. The gods of death and the underworld have their own unwritten and eternal decrees, and she will not betray them to please a mortal king. For Antigone, divine justice stands above human rule. She accepts death as the natural consequence of her act, saying that she has already suffered enough sorrow in life and does not fear to die. What she could not endure was leaving her brother's body unburied. To her, it would have been a greater sin to abandon him than to face execution. If Creon believes her foolish, she answers, it is only because he himself is blind to wisdom. Antigone's defiance is unyielding and at times deliberately provocative. By openly insulting Creon, she forces his pride to the edge, compelling him to punish her to preserve his authority. The chorus's leader observes that Antigone is as passionate and obstinate as her father, Oedipus. Creon responds that he will break her stubbornness, declaring that he will not allow a woman to triumph over him. He orders that Antigone, and even her sister Ismene, whom he suspects of complicity, will both face death. Creon's anger consumes his judgment. Instead of reasoning as a ruler should, he treats the matter as a personal struggle for dominance. Yet Antigone remains fearless. She claims that dying for the sake of her brother's honor is a noble death that will bring her everlasting glory. She insists that the people of Thebes secretly support her, though they dare not speak against Creon, whom she denounces as a tyrant. Once more, Antigone appeals to a higher law. She argues that Creon's rule is founded on fear, not justice, and thus cannot be righteous. Creon retorts by questioning how she can honor Polynices, who betrayed the city and killed her brother Eteocles. Antigone replies that the gods demand equal rights for all the dead, regardless of their deeds, and that as brothers she owed love to both. Creon scoffs and tells her she may love them in the world of the dead. To Creon, Antigone's defiance endangers the stability of the state and must be crushed. To Antigone, it is Creon's arrogance that violates sacred order. Lo yonder at the door appears Ismene shedding silver tears, from clouds of sorrow on her brow, that shade and mar her beauty now, the rain in drops her cheek bedews, which crimson drops of blood suffuse. Creon then says, and you viper lurking in my house, and sucking my life's blood, though unobserved, I did not know that I was nurturing here two pests, in insurrection gainst my throne. Come, tell me now, will you still further own, that you participated in the act of burial, or maintain you knew it not? At this moment, Ismene enters in tears, declaring that she too shares in the guilt and wishes to die beside her sister. Antigone, enraged, refuses to let her do so, saying that Ismene cannot claim honor for an act she did not perform. Ismene begs to die with her, but Antigone, softening, tells her it would be meaningless to share death without sharing the deed. Turning to Creon, Ismene pleads for mercy, reminding him that Antigone is betrothed to his son Haman. Creon coldly replies that Haman can find another bride. When Ismene insists that the two are in love, Creon declares that he will not allow his son to marry a traitor. He breaks off the union and orders both sisters to be taken away under guard. Creon stands firm in his belief that the law must be absolute. Just as Antigone cannot escape punishment for defying the decree, he too refuses to bend his rule for the sake of his son's love. To him, leadership means unwavering adherence to the law, even at the cost of personal loss. The chorus then chants of the misfortunes that have long plagued the house of Oedipus. They lament how the wrath of Zeus can destroy even the mightiest, and how human pride inevitably falls before divine will. However much mortals strive, they remain subject to the gods' power. The chant fades as Haman enters, mourning and weeping for Antigone. The doom of Oedipus's line continues. From the heights of royal power, his family has fallen into a chain of horrors: patricide, incest, fratricide, and now a sister condemned for honoring her brother. Yet the chorus does not see that Creon himself stands on the brink of ruin. Like Oedipus before him, he challenges the gods by exalting his own laws above theirs, and in the world of Greek tragedy, no mortal who defies the divine ever escapes destruction. Creon confronts his son Haman, asking whether he comes in anger or in loyalty. Haman replies that he stands in obedience to his father. Pleased by this, Creon launches into a stern lecture on the duty of a son to obey his father and the folly of being swayed by the charms of a bad woman. He insists that Antigone must die, for to pardon her defiance would undermine the authority of law itself. His words reveal not only his rigidity but also his coldness, for he shows no compassion toward his son, who loves Antigone deeply. Creon declares that if Antigone's disobedience goes unpunished, it will invite chaos to destroy Thebes. The very fact that she is a woman makes her rebellion, in his eyes, even more intolerable. The leader of the chorus agrees that Creon's reasoning seems sensible. Creon continues, explaining his belief that the strength of a city lies in obedience to its ruler, and that disorder, or even too much freedom, endangers its survival. Haman answers with respect, saying that while it is not his place to correct the king, he has heard the people of Thebes murmuring that Antigone's act was honorable. Though they fear Creon, they believe she should have been allowed to bury her brother. Haman begs his father to be reasonable and not so unyielding. If Creon truly rules for the good of his people, as he claims, then he should heed their voices. Yet instead of considering his son's words, Creon flares with anger and calls Antigone a traitor once more. Haman protests that the people do not see her that way. Creon responds furiously, asking if Thebes will now tell him how to govern, and whether he rules for himself or for others. He insists that to reconsider his decree would invite rebellion and destroy the state. But if he rules only for himself, ignoring justice and the will of the people, his laws lose their legitimacy. The argument between father and son grows more heated. Creon accuses Haman of betraying him for the sake of a woman, while Haman insists he is trying to save his father from committing a grave injustice. Enraged, Creon hurls insult after insult until Haman, in despair, warns that Antigone's death will bring another death. He storms out, vowing that his father will never see him again. Haman says, "Not by my side shall she be put to death. Believe it not, nor shall you ever see me in your presence here again. So rave and fret and fume alone, or find some friends to stay with who may care to stay with you." Creon speaks, "Let him go work his will, conceiving thoughts, too great for man, if that be his desire, but these two women he shall never save." Creon's pride blinds him to the meaning of his son's words. He does not realize that his obsession with authority has made him a tyrant, one whose laws defy both his people and the gods. The chorus leader fears that Haman may do something rash, but Creon remains indifferent. He spares Ismene, yet decrees that Antigone shall be taken to a deserted place, walled alive in a stone vault with only a small amount of food. There, he says, either the god she worships, death, will save her, or she will learn the futility of revering death itself. I'll take her where no human foot hath trod, and mew her up alive. There in a vault of stone I'll give her food enough to keep the taint from all the town. And there, perchance, entreating Hades, whom alone she worships, release from death she may obtain, or else will learn this truth, though late and to her cost. To honor those below is labor lost. Creon's method of execution reveals his moral blindness. By burying the living and denying burial to the dead, he turns the natural order upside down. The chorus sings of love, the unconquerable force that drives mortals to both joy and ruin. O love, unconquered in fight, the rich thou dost raid. Thou makest thy couch in the night on the cheeks of a maid, and thou rangest over the sea in the rural home, and no one escapes thee where'er thou dost roam. Neither god nor mortal man thy will can resist. Thou assailest, inspiring with frenzy, the one thou dost list. In the souls of the just to their ruin thou turnest astray. 'Tis thou that this feud hast excited 'mong kinsmen today. The love light so clear in the eyes of the bride is victorious. It sits high enthroned by the side of the laws ever glorious. The unwritten laws acknowledged by men, Aphrodite is working her will, invincible, mighty. Once proud and defiant, Antigone now appears sorrowful and human. She mourns her destiny and the life she will never live, the marriage she will never know, the joys that will never come. The chorus reminds her that she has gone too far, and wonders if she suffers for the sins of her father, Oedipus. Hearing his name, Antigone's grief deepens, and the chorus declares that her own blind will and passion have destroyed her. Creon enters and orders her lament silenced. He commands the guards to take her away and seal her in the tomb. Antigone, now resigned to her fate, speaks no longer with defiance but with sadness. The chorus sympathizes with her, but acknowledges that she might have avoided this end had she yielded. Like her father, who pursued the truth that led to his own ruin, Antigone's resolve has brought about her death. She mourns her lost future and reflects on her decision. She claims that she would not have broken the law for a husband or a child, for another could take their place, but since her parents are dead, no brother could ever be born again. In saying this, she contradicts her earlier insistence that all the dead deserve equal honor. Her words reveal a softer, more human side, perhaps even opening a moment in which Creon might have shown mercy, but he does not. As she is led away, Antigone calls upon the gods, asking them to judge between her and Creon. Creon, unmoved, shows no mercy. He believes that his laws must stand above all else. Antigone turns her faith to the divine, convinced that the gods' justice surpasses any decree made by men. The chorus sings of others in myth who were buried alive, beings of royal or divine blood who, though powerful, could not escape their destined doom. E'en thus did the beautiful Danae endure to exchange the light of day for a dwelling bound with brass, and a prisoner in that grave-like room, though of noble birth, was she held, while as groom, to the bride did Zeus to her pass, in a shower of golden rain his seed entrusted to her. Dread and mighty, indeed, is the baneful force of fate. Neither wealth nor war nor towers strong, nor wave-beaten ships by the winds swept along, can deliver from powers so great. And immured in a prison of stone, and tamed, the king of Edonians, quick-temper named, son or Dryas, the god Dionysus, made atone for the taunt he in madness flung. There the wrath in his heart, for his rashness of tongue, doth simmer down slow whence it rises. He found too late it was a guard had appeared that with mocking tongue he rashly had jeered, when the Maenads all frenzied, possessed with a fire bacchanalian, he began to abuse, and stirred to fierce anger the flute-loving muse. Thus dearly he paid for his jest. By the double sea and the rocks dark blue, stand Bosporus heights where the waters gush through, Salmydessus of Thrace. There Ares that hard by the city dwelt, saw the wound in savage fury dealt, the accursed blow in the face, of the two sons of Phineus by his cruel wife. With her shuttle in bloody hands, like a knife, full into the orbs of sight, the blinding murderous dagger was driven, and those eyes appealed mutely for vengeance to heaven, out of their darkness of night. Their pitiful doom, as the hours sped, did those sons of a mother unhappily wed, in misery pining bewail. Yet her ancestors came of a noble race, the Erecthiadae, in a far distant place, that child of the northern gale. Fleet of foot as a steed o'er the hills, in a cave, mid the Thracian storms of her father that rave round the mountain, was cradled and nursed. A child of the gods was she, O my daughter, yet the fates all hoary with age, they sought her. Be content, thy doom's not the worst. By recalling these ancient figures, the chorus suggests that Antigone's fate, like that of her father before her, was sealed long ago by the will of the gods. Tiresias, the blind prophet, arrives led by a young boy, and Creon greets him with respect, declaring his willingness to follow his counsel. Tiresias warns that Creon stands at a crucial turning point, and that Polynices must be buried to appease the gods and shield Thebes from their anger. He urges Creon not to persist stubbornly in refusing burial for the dead, reminding him that as a mortal, he is capable of error and must act with humility before divine law. Unlike in the past, when Tiresias hesitated to reveal the truth to Oedipus, he now speaks directly and fearlessly to Creon, warning him that his actions defy the gods. Yet, while Oedipus's fate was already sealed by prophecy, Creon still has the chance to alter his course and avoid disaster. However, Creon, consumed by pride, bursts into fury, accusing Tiresias of false prophecy and greed. He curses all prophets as corrupt seekers of power, and swears that Polynices' body will never be buried. His rage and arrogance seal his fate. Tiresias then unveils the full truth. The gods rule over the dead, while mortals govern only the living. A time will come, and soon, when shrieks of men and women's wailings loud shall in your house resound. Nay more, the realms are roused against you in tumultuous hate, whose mangled sons wild beasts of prey and dogs have consecrated, or some winged bird that soared aloft and bore pollution back to hearths at home from corpses in the field. Such shafts unerring for your heart have I, discharged in anger, for I feel the smart of your provoking words, and you will feel the pang of every barb the archer sends. Boy, lead me home, and leave him here to vent his rage on younger men, that he may learn henceforth a tongue more temperate to nourish, a better mind within his breast to cherish. As punishment for entombing Antigone alive, Creon's own child will be taken by the gods, and the anger of all whose loved ones lie unburied will rise against him. With that, Tiresias departs, leaving Creon shaken and afraid. Creon realizes too late that his opportunity to prevent tragedy has nearly vanished. He wavers, asking the leader of the chorus for guidance. The leader advises him to act swiftly, free Antigone and bury Polynices. Overcome by fear, Creon finally yields and rushes to make amends himself. Unlike Oedipus, who refused counsel even in despair, Creon now seeks advice and attempts to defy his doomed fate. The chorus turns to the god Dionysus, praying for Thebes to be healed and protected from divine wrath. But soon a messenger arrives bearing dreadful news. Haman, Creon's son, has taken his own life. Eurydice, Haman's mother, overhears and demands to know what has happened. The messenger recounts that after burying Polynices, he and Creon heard cries from Antigone's tomb. When they arrived, they found Antigone hanged and Haman overcome with grief. Seeing his father, Haman tried to strike him with his sword, missed, and then turned the weapon upon himself. Horrified, Eurydice silently departs. As is customary in Greek tragedy, the final catastrophe unfolds off stage, revealed through the words of a messenger. Dear lady, I was there, and what I saw, I'll tell without reserve and in detail. For why should I attempt to soothe thy heart, and afterwards be proved a liar? Truth is always best. As guide I led thy lord unto the summit of the plain, where still, unpitied lay the corpse of Polynices, by dogs all mangled. To Persephone, the goddess of the crossways, and to Pluto, we prayed to show us mercy and restrain their wrath. Then washing pure and clean the corpse, with boughs fresh plucked we set to burning all the dogs had left of his poor body. Then of native earth heaped up a mound, and turned to enter that rock-vaulted chamber, where the bridegroom, Death, awaited on a couch of stone. And long before we reached it, one of my companions heard a voice of wailing, which seemed to come from that unhallowed room, where funeral nuptial rites had not been paid. Returning quick, he told our master, Creon, who, coming nearer, low unmeaning cries perceived, which soon became distinct and clear, the bitter wailings of a human voice. And groaning with a cry of anguish, he exclaimed, "O my prophetic heart, alas! Is this to prove of all the journeys made by me the most disastrous? Listen, still, my son's voice greets me. Quick, my servants, on with speed, pass through the entrance of the tomb. The stones that blocked the passage up are torn away. Peer in and learn if Haman's voice is that which greets my ear, or if my ear be cheated by the gods." At the behest of our despairing lord we went and peered, and in the farthest corner of the tomb we saw her hanging by the neck in noose of fine-wrought linen, while around her waist in fond embrace had Haman thrown his arms, still clinging there, bewailing his lost love, his father's deeds, his bride that was to be, now numbered with the dead. The father, though, when he his son descried, rushed in with loud and bitter cry, and wailing, called to him, "Unhappy youth, what hast thou done? What prompts this deed? What stroke deprived thee of thy reason? Come out, my child, I beg thee, I implore." But glaring at his father savagely, the boy made no reply, spat in his face, and drawing suddenly his hilted sword, an effort made to strike, but missed his aim. His father, rushing forth, escaped. Insane with anger at himself, the wretched boy then leaned against his sword with all his weight, and drove full half the blade into his side. Then, conscious still he in his faint, embraced the maiden folded, gasping, while a perfect stream of blood on her white cheek shot forth and dyed it to a crimson hue. A corpse enclosing corpse he lies, his bride and he united, in the halls of death, and he has shown to all the world, no ill, that man is heir to transcends thoughtlessness. Though Creon has repented and hurried to undo his decree, fate cannot be escaped once it is set in motion. Soon Creon returns, carrying the lifeless body of his son, crushed by guilt and sorrow. He calls himself his son's murderer, recognizing that his own stubbornness and folly brought ruin upon them all. The messenger returns again with even darker news. Eurydice has killed herself at an altar, cursing her husband's pride for the death of their child. Now Creon stands utterly alone, his wife and son gone by their own hands, victims of his unyielding will. Stricken with despair, Creon calls to be led away, lamenting that he no longer exists, that he is nothing. He prays for death, but the leader of the chorus tells him that he must live and endure his suffering. Creon admits his guilt, crying that he has killed both his son and his wife. Broken and defeated, he is led from the stage. The chorus concludes by reflecting that those who are proud are inevitably humbled by fate, and that wisdom comes only through the agony of suffering. At last, Creon understands that his true strength lay not in power or law, but in his family. Without them, he is indeed nothing. Like Oedipus before him, his stubbornness has brought ruin, yet through his grief he gains the bitter wisdom of humility.